Z, uh, yeah. So we all know Gen Z. Okay, Gen Alpha is probably worse than Gen Z, but Gen Z, or otherwise known as my generation, is probably the saddest and most pathetic generation besides Gen Alpha. Okay, but Gen Alpha hasn't grown up yet. Gen Alpha has not hit the age of 18. Okay, so of course Gen Z is the most recent generation in the workforce here, and hiring managers is not so eager to welcome the younger generation into the companies. Okay, which we have, I think we have everybody who has to deal with Gen Z is, a lot of Gen Z, they don't really care. Okay, a lot of Gen Z, okay, a lot of their whole goals and dreams and aspirations is to not be a boring, normal person. Okay, they want to be like the Twitch streamers and YouTubers. It's the same thing with Gen Alpha. So yes, the internet, of course, was a blessing. It gave many people, a chance to be famous. A chance to, be remembered, be, known. Okay, the internet really changed things forever, and I don't think we're ever gonna go back to an internetless world unless like something catastrophic happens. But basically, before the internet, most of the people who would be remembered would be like political leaders. You'd have to be an aristocrat, a very rich person. Basically, you had to be born wealthy to be remembered. Most people's stories, for example, the peasants, they're never gonna be remembered. But because of the internet, anyone can become famous. Anyone's stories can be told and be remembered and archived online. Kind of like how people talk about the final death, people's name being remembered. Well, or for example, the movie Coco. I think that movie takes place before the internet because obviously, the movie Coco, literally you can post this, become famous on. You can really just post yourself on the internet, and people on the internet will always remember you. Okay, like yeah, but of 1,000 hiring, made considering age when reviewing application. Gen Z or being a senior could resume. Of course, being a senior means you're old. You know, they're not going to want to. Being old means you're most likely to have health issues, obviously. But and basically, Gen Z. Okay, Gen Z people who are ages between 12 and 27. So 27? Gen Z is old as 27? Don't have many ways around this obstacle. And I know this is made, they're gonna go over the pandemic, but we all know why. Gen Z, they'll make up like diseases and sicknesses to not show up work, like time dilation, the TikTok users, and then they'll complain how no one wants to hire them because they'll make up these excuses saying, I have time dilation, I don't want to show up. Like these people don't want to show up at work. They'll get hired for a job and then they don't show up or they refuse to work. Like, I'm sorry, the Gen Z, okay, if you're not, of course there are very few people in Gen, like there's a lot of Gen Z, like a lot of these Gen Z YouTubers, they take their careers for granted, like RoboSuit and all these other guys. They do all these bad things behind the camera, but they're realizing they're putting their entire career in jeopardy on YouTube and have to probably go back to working at McDonald's or something because they would rather do bad things when they could just act like a normal person. And I know RoboSuit, he probably doesn't have to work another day in his life, but basically I think once he reaches like 1,000,000 subscribers or so, you probably never have to work another day in your life. You're gonna have sponsorships, you're gonna have deals, and stuff. Those types of people, they're kind of like safe, basically, saying, but basically before, the internet, if you were, of course, there was musicians becoming famous as well, but, and actors as well, but the internet really did change the ball game, and I think when it comes to work, the reason why there's so many labor shortages is because Gen Z doesn't want to work. And I think doesn't matter what ethnicity the person is, Gen Z just are lazy. Okay, they're just lazy. They don't care. They would rather be on the phones or want to be a YouTuber than actually want to, at least with this channel, there's at least 10, this channel, everybody says that cheated sets of actually becoming famous, but a lot of these people with like one subscriber on YouTube, and they get like one subscriber every year. Yeah, you probably should just forward the towel and just accept the fact that people don't really care, and you have to actually do work. And there are even sounds of hundreds of thousands with over 100K subscribers where they still don't make enough money to make a living off of YouTube. I think that's the big problem. Is a lot of these people want to become an influencer, especially Gen Z women. I think are more likely to be fired, not hired, because a lot of Gen Z women, they want to be an OnlyFans account or an Instagram influencer or the next Sniper Wolf or the next Pokimane. And it's just not going to happen. There's just too much competition in the algorithm that there's going to be so many failed channels. And then there are going to be people like, oh, they're not promoting small channels enough. But there's so much competition in the YouTube space that it's by luck your channel becomes famous. It's by luck you become famous. Because there's so many people wanting to throw the hat in the ring and throw, the hat in the ring of YouTubers. But they're also worried about the Gen Z lack of experience, obviously. But they're also because of the generation's unprofessional or ungrateful attitude, and they are known to job hop as well. Yeah. And yeah, I remember there was another place where I worked at, and there was all these Gen Z servers, and they just were the laziest people. Or they had this other guy, he was ultra Gen Z as well. He was a busser, and he did absolutely nothing. Like, these Gen Z people just don't care. They show up to work to get money, and they do the bare minimum to do the job, and that's it. Okay? It's different when you have like a pretty hard and difficult job, but... And 46% of people said it was unbeneficial to avoid Gen Z. And also, they were talking about the pandemic and managers are failing. But I think if you really want Gen Z to be in the workforce, you really have to train them and make sure they're up to par and say, hey, listen, Gen Z person, you have to do your job correctly, and if you don't, you'll be fired. I think that would be a very reasonable position, here. Ultimately, Gen Z is projected to become 30% of the global workforce as well, And I think the problem with Gen Z is their obsession with the phone. Millennials, they're much easier. They don't have to worry about it. They're all too much. But Gen Z is really, really lazy. I think this is just Gen Z. They don't want to, they're just, And I think race and ethnicity and gender doesn't matter into this because Gen Z all feel the same way. They're always like depressed, unhappy, or they're always on the phone. They're more worried about TikTok than the actual job. Like there was this girl, like she would literally sit down, like she was like Gen Z, and she would literally sit down and just drink alcohol and be on TikTok instead of doing a job. Like she would literally just sit down and drink alcohol and do TikTok to do a job. And for some reason they won't fire her. Yeah. That's an example of a lady Gen Z employee. Everyone, don't be like that person, obviously. But that's about this video here. Goodbye.